All right, everyone, here's our next video. First of all, before we start on what we're about to do, I want y'all to understand the importance of continuing to do your work. First of all, your grade can improve from what it already was, so that's important, trying to get your GPA up a little bit. But the most important thing, and I think y'all know this, and I've sent out an email talking about this, because your number in the grade book, whatever your grade is, that was never my primary concern. Yes, I always wanted y'all to pass. But more importantly than that is, I want you to be prepared for your next math class. Might not seem all that important right now because you might be sitting back thinking, well, I got my grade, I'm passing, I don't care. Guys, if you'll put forth a little bit of work during this downtime, it's going to help you in the future. And that's why I'm continuing, me and Miss Winder are continuing to work. We're trying to at least give you the basics for these next couple of concepts that are going to help you tremendously, not just in geometry, but if you're going to take Algebra 2 and Algebra 2 also. So keep working. We're not going to overwhelm you with a lot of work. If you don't understand something, let us know. Guys, we love Zooming with y'all. We will continue to help you. It's what we do. It's why we became teachers. So just because we don't get to see each other face to face does not mean that we're not here for you. So just keep that in mind, okay? And keep doing your work, please. It's for your own good. All right, so guys, what we're going to do right now is basically a review of something we did a couple of weeks ago. It's called Solving Quadratics by the Square Roots. And as soon as we do these two right here, you're going to say, well, why are we doing this again? We've already done this. Well, the reason being is because what we're going to do later in the week, somewhere along the way, we have to be able to do this. What we're going to do later in the week is very lengthy and sometimes can be confusing. So let's make sure we know how to do these two things right here, and it'll take some of the confusion away because eventually you'll see something that is familiar to you when we're doing what's called completing the square, okay? Or solving by completing the square. So just let's do a couple. We're going to do 2 in this video, and I think you have 8 on your worksheet. Guys, it's only going to take you maybe 15 minutes again, but if you have a question, make sure you let us know. Also, when you submit your assignments, make sure you're checking for responses from us. I know I send out a lot of responses, but then I don't know if you got that or if you looked at it or whatever, so just keep that in mind. All right, so let's knock this out. So we're solving quadratics by square roots. Remember, excuse me, we're trying to get whatever's being squared by itself. Well, my parentheses is what's being squared. So that is already by itself. So if you remember, once we got the parentheses squared by itself, we were ready to take the square root of both sides. When we take the square root of something being squared, the square root and the square cancel. So that leaves me just x minus 7. And then on the other side, we have to take the square root of 1. Well, the square root of 1 is 1, but remember, we have to write it as plus or minus 1. Once we got to this step, we're going to split up 2 equations. So we really have x minus 7 equals positive 1, but we also have x minus 7 equals negative 1. So we're going to write 2 equations showing exactly what we just said. X minus 7 equals positive 1, x minus 7 equals negative 1. There are my 2 equations. And now you just solve for x. We're going to add 7 to both sides. That's going to give me x equals 8. We're going to add 7 over here. On this equation, that's going to give me x equals, what is that, 6. And that's it, we're done. We're going to do one more of these. But again, this is important to remember how to do because what we do later in the week, we have to know this skill, okay? So when you see it in the steps on the video it'll be on Wednesday, I guess, you should, when I get to this part of the problem, you should say, oh, well, we know how to do this part. So you're really only learning how to do half of a new thing, okay? All right, so look at number 2. Well, look, we have the parentheses squared. There's nothing in front of it. There's nothing outside of it. So we are ready to take the square root of both sides. The square root and the square cancel each other. They are opposite inverses. That leaves me with x plus 5 equals the square root of 64, which is 8, but remember we're going to write it as a plus or a minus 8. So now we're going to write this equation twice, one time using positive 8, one time using negative 8. So there's our two equations. So we're going to solve this one over here for x by subtracting 5 from both sides. That gives us 3. And when I subtract 5 on this other equation, that's going to give us negative 13. There's my two answers. It is really, truly that simple. Again, this is just a review of solving quadratics by square roots, but it's going to help us when we solve quadratics by doing something that's called completing the square. Again, guys, please, 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 please keep working. Let's do a little bit every week, get a little bit of a foundation. It's going to help you in the future. Also, my class, I sent out an email to your parents. Hopefully, ask them to see it because it had some personal information for you guys as my class. Again, miss y'all tremendously. Hopefully, we can start over in the fall and get back to school and we get to see y'all again. But y'all take care.